Bienvenue. How are you doing? Comment ça va? And as they say in Wolof, naka buen def. I'm Dr. Sally Blair, Senior Director of Fellowship Programs here at the National Endowment for Democracy. On behalf of NED's International Forum for Democratic Studies, I'm pleased to welcome you to today's presentation, Y'en a marre, Youth and Social Engagement in Senegal, featuring Reagan Fassel Democracy Fellow, Chat. It is an honor to have with us in the audience today the Ambassador of Senegal, His Excellency Cheikh Niang. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Funded by the U.S. Congress, the Reagan Fassel Democracy Fellows Program hosts some of the world's most dedicated democracy activists, scholars, and journalists to conduct independent research and pursue projects here at NED. Now in our 13th year, the program has hosted more than 200 fellows from over 80 countries since its founding in 2001. In all this time, with our growing alumni network, I must say that we have never before had the privilege and the sheer joy of hosting a hip-hop artist, and certainly not an artist like Chat. Chat, I say to you now, it's been wonderful having you here at NED. Does music have the power to change the world? I think you will see today that if we are talking about hip-hop and what's been happening in Senegal, the answer is definitely yes. What started as a band in the city of Kaolack in the 1990s with the name Kirgi, which means house, crew, grew to a political movement that led to a president being voted out of office. The Y'en a marre, We're Fed Up movement first emerged in 2011 as a grassroots campaign against injustice and inequality in Senegal. Spearheaded by Chat and his fellow band members in response to local power outages, the nascent protest movement went on to mobilize against the controversial bid by then Senegalese President Abdoulaye Wade to remain in office for a third term. The constitutional changes that Wade proposed would have safeguarded his victory in the next election. The Y'en a marre movement responded by saying, "Enough is enough, and touche pas à ma constitution, don't touch my constitution." The weapon to use was your voting card. In an extraordinary show of solidarity, Senegalese citizens, civil society organizations, and youth united to speak out against rampant corruption, rising unemployment, and regular electricity outages, and to vote President Wade out of office. During his presentation today, Chat will explore the conditions that created Y'en a marre, the movement's involvement in the events leading up to the 2012 presidential election, and the goals of the Y'en a marre movement. Chat will also discuss the next steps for Y'en a marre, including his efforts to engage youth across Africa through a new campaign, 100% Democracy by Youth, encouraging them to advocate for social change and to aspire to become a new type of African citizen. Chat, which means the youngest born member of the family, is in this way the baby of the family, along with Father Keith, who is with us in the audience today. But while Chat may be the baby of the band, and as we will see in some video clips during his presentation, he is an electrifying performer, Chat is no baby. He is a serious, mature, and visionary artist who seeks not to be a celebrity or a star, but rather a role model for African youth. Having launched Y'en a marre, Chat has shared his experience with academics, youth activists, and civil society organizations across Africa and internationally, including at the World Social Forum in Dakar and Tunis, the International Youth Summit in Cape Town, the African Leadership Network Conference in Ghana, the Dakar to New York Conference at New York University, and the Spirit of Y'en a marre Forum in Paris, France. We will now turn the floor over to Chat, who will speak for approximately 35 minutes. For those of you on Twitter, you can follow this presentation and contribute to the conversation by using the hashtag NED or by following the forum at Think Democracy and the endowment at NE Democracy. If you have not already done so, please take a moment to silence your cell phones. And finally, let me take this opportunity to thank staff members Melissa Aiton-Becknell, Ashley Walburn, and most especially Research Associate Hillary Collins for their help in organizing today's event. Chuck.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. I'm gonna start like Sally to say something. When I open my email and read, I'm gonna be here at NET, I was thinking, Chad, what are you gonna do in front of a desk? Because I've never been in an office in my life. But the team I found here make it very easier. So thank you for NET team. Like you said, like Sally said, you see, I'm a fellow here at the National Endowment for Democracy. Today we're going to discuss about this brave history of Kirgi crew, the social and political context in Senegal, Yanamar movement, new type of Senegalese, beyond Senegalese border and the next steps. You're going to see this timeline during my presentation. This is like the most important date during the Yanamar protest from the beginning of the movement to right now. Here is Senegal, and this is where we're coming from, Kaolack, the middle of Senegal, the border to Gambia. I was born here with one guy. Kilifa, please, can you stand up for me, please? And we created in 1996 the band called Kirgi. Kirgi means the house. When we created this band, it was to participate in the change in terms of nobody was saying what's happened to our region. The mayor was stealing the money, no infrastructure. We said, no, it's enough. We have to create something. And hip-hop was the first instrument we could use to spread our message. And we created that band. When we created that band in 1996, 1 year after we were beaten by the mayor, we've been sent in jail by the mayor. We were teenagers, 17 years old. And after that, we were censored for 6 years. Finally, that was in 2002, we made our first album. 2004, the second one, and 2008, the third one. With that album, we had like best sellers, best band, nominated in African Hip Hop Awards. And finally, in 2011, because of the social context in Senegal, we had power outage, unemployment, foods and fuels, education, healthcare. That was a lot of problems. We met someone, Fadel Barrow. We coming from the same region in Kaolack, but he followed the journalism and we followed the hip hop way. And finally, living in the same neighborhood in Dakar, he said to us, Chad, you think you are a revolutionary. You think being activist or someone engaged means just making sound or concerts or video. You have to do more. Activism is not slacktivism. It's not clicktivism. You have to do something more. And we say to him, you are a journalist. You write, nobody read you because people are not. But finally, we decide to create something. We say, what are we going to create? Are we going to create a political party? No. Are we going to create a movement between journalists and rapper? Nobody is journalist. Everybody is not journalist or rapper. We say, let's find a word to crystallize all the frustration of the population inside, and we start the brainstorming. Sasufi, coup de trop, opener, doiner, and finally we decide to create Yanamar. Yanamar means we fed up. When we created that movement, we launched it on January 18th at the place called Place du Souvenir, or the Souvenir Square. But WAD sent some cops to come to say, no, this place belongs to WAD. You can't launch a movement against WAD. So finally, we launched the movement out of the street, like in the street. And the next day, all the newspapers was talking about Yanamar, 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 the movement of rappers and journalists. They give to the government a deadline about the electricity curve. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And what's happened is 15 days after, we had like 80% of the demand in terms of electricity cut satisfied. So we say, wow, are we going to stop here? We create a movement. We talk about this electricity cut and what finally do what we wanted, what we expect. So are we going to stop here or are we going to move forward? So we say, let's do this. We write what we call a complaint against the government of Senegal. And this complaint was like a kind of petition for us to be inside of the mass, inside of the population, and give them, it was a kind of petition. People will sign it and say, okay, you are a student, you don't go to school because of your professors are doing a strike. Okay, you are a mother, nothing to, because the food are expensive, so everybody found themselves inside of the complaint. And this complaint was the instrument we used to organize this big demonstration on March 19. March 19 celebrate the date of the first democratic election in Senegal in 2000. And what Wade was doing is, every year he was celebrating by his own. But we say to Wade, no, this date is important because of the population of Senegal, not because of you. That was the population who said, we want to change, and we want to do it peacefully, we want to do like in democratical way. And after that, during that protest, people was waiting. Okay, what you gonna say? We already know what is the situation in this country. It's difficult. So what gonna be your message? And we say, we are tired of talking about politicians every day. We forget about something important. Politicians can develop a country, but that's the population to change that country. So let's be a new type of Senegalese to change things. Like that, politicians can follow and develop the country. Because we're not going to build tolls and roads and stuff, but we can change just behavior to participate in the development of our country. So we say, okay, new type of Senegalese, that's the solution. And during that same manifestation, we say, let's do something very important because we have 6 months before the election. So go register for the vote. And we launched that campaign called My Car, Das Fanana. You can see the translation. In this campaign, we have like over 500,000 youth all over the country who was registered for this campaign. And you can see some pictures about how we did the campaign. We were going buses and market and everywhere, schools, everywhere. And here comes the political context. While we were trying to change the mentality of the population, the politician was finding a way to do something back to the population. While we was trying to change the constitution. And we said, no, you can't touch the constitution. And we say, do not touch my constitution. You can't. In fact, what Wade was looking is, he wanted to bring a new agreement in the constitution of Senegal. Say, okay, now, if you have 25% of the vote, you are elected with the post of the vice president. We say, how we can say that? That was 51%, and now you wanted to bring it to the half? No, you can't touch our constitution, and we start the protest. And here, you're going to see a video of the arrest of, we were arrested. That was June 22nd. Here, there is some member of Yanamar, leaders, rappers. You can see we have our hand like this to show we are a peaceful movement, non-violent movement. Yes, that was June 22nd. What happened is, in June 22nd, the civil society and the opposition was having a meeting in a place called Daniel Broche to discuss what we're going to do. They said, okay, let's write a letter to EU, UN, United States to tell them what's happened in Senegal and what's going to happen in 2 days coming. We said, no, we can't write a letter to United States or the EU or UN. It's too late. We have to do something. We have to show to Abdullah we're not dumb, deaf, and blind. We have to fight for our, and nobody gonna come and do this work by, and that's our responsibility to protect our constitution. It's not the US constitution or the EU constitution. And what's happening June 22nd, here in June 23rd, people was in front of the National Assembly to say, this law not gonna pass. And you can see the crowd in front of the National Assembly of Senegal. And finally, you can see the protest was very, very intensive. And you can see after arrested, some of them was beaten. There was like a lot of them was in the hospital and stuff. But finally, at 6 o'clock, we back off for 1 day of protest, non-violent protest. Just because people were saying, okay, no, it's not going to happen. We stand in front of the National Assembly and want to move back. And we keep on doing what we know, what we can, what we have responsibility to do as member of a generation. Deliver a message, talking to people. You can see, mobilize people. And what's happened? What to say, okay, my agreement didn't pass, so I'm going to find out another way. He said, I'm going to run for a 30-10. We say, this old man is being crazy now. And we said, do not push. You can't push. You bring your argument, we fight against. Okay, and now you say you're going to be a candidate? And he brought some lawyers from Paris to come to Senegal to give a lesson of constitution. Say, okay, the Senegalese lawyer, okay, you know what can be candidate and stuff because the law say before. The response of the lawyers of Senegal was, go say to Sarkozy to run for a 30-10. And no more debate. And we create, do not push, faut pas forcer. And you can see what we did. In this video, you can see, he received a call. Tell him, what is candidate, what we're going to run for a 30-10. He said, no, what are you talking about? So let's tell to everybody what's going to happen. And he ran. His mom said, okay, I pray for you, go protest. And he ran and spread the news. Everybody has to know. See? What we're going to do? Okay, let's go protest. And finally, the mom decided to join us. And finally, we couldn't stop what? With his constitutional coup. Finally, they say what can run for 30-10. But Y'en a marre as a movement who know the rules of the constitution, we say, yes, if what just himself say, okay, I'm going to be candidate, and militaries or police beat people and arrest people, we can keep on fighting. But now it's a decision coming from the Constitution, because that was the people in charge who say, what we can run for a third term? What's going to be our position? We say no. Let's follow the rules of our country. We can't do anything else like fight in terms of fight. But what we can do is we're going to remind to people to go prepare their card for the vote and finish what during the election like a democratic country. We're not going to burn the country. That's not our responsibility, because the heritage of this generation was a peaceful country. We can't do what's happened in some other countries, fight because what they want to be a candidate. No. Now it's time to stop the fight, stop the struggle, just wait the election day and go vote against what? You can see here, all over the news. And when what was candidate, and we have the first round, and during the second round, we said, we have to finish it. Finish your enemy, because Das Fernandez was sharpening the weapon. But the weapon was the vote, the card for vote. That wasn't like a weapon, like a blade. And the enemy was what? And now we say, he's in the second round with Macky Sall, let's finish with what? And we keep on doing the same campaign everywhere. And finally, what? Macky Sall won the election, and we had like Macky Sall now like a president of Senegal. And when Macky Sall come on the power, we say, we are not a political party. Are we going to follow the agenda of politicians waiting Macky Sall do something and say, no, you have to work? We say, no. What we're going to do is, we are part of the society. We have our own agenda. What is our agenda is, let's go keep on do the new type of Senegalese. Let's go make a lot of sensibilization in terms of, okay, let people know and understand what is their role, how they can participate in the change. And let's create something very important. With Wade in 2000, what we did is, after elected Wade, everybody was on his court, lay down watching TV. But now, we're going to observe our democracy. You see, we keep on doing the new type of Senegal. We say Senegal is going to be clean. With a big campaign. Everywhere, schools, hospitals, streets, in Dakar, in the region and stuff. But here, during the protest, some people was killed, some people was arrested, some was beaten, some was in the hospital. Amnesty wrote a report, but they put it in the closet. We go and took that report and make a track, a song about it. Here is the song. And in that song, you can see we took the amnesty report and make it like a song. And in this part, you're going to see the list of the people who was killed. Here is the list of people who was killed. What's happened with this sound is, after that, we've been to all this family and asked them what they think they can do. They say, we want to know what we can do. And we say, let's go find a lawyer for you. And we had two lawyers. One of them is very famous in Africa, Mam Adamogay. And he accepted to be the lawyer of those guys, those young people who were arrested and beaten by the police and stuff. And what we had, like, result is, most of those policemen who was beaten or killed people, they are in jail now in Senegal. So that was like, we have what we were looking for. And just after that, we said, look, we're talking about the Senegalese issue. So what else we can do? We say, now we have a country inside of our country. The name of this country is Gambia. Journalist was arrested, killed, opposition, nobody have freedom there. We say, okay, let's do something for the Gambian people. And in this video, you're gonna see it's in it's in English, and we have the translate, the subtitle, so we're gonna watch that one.
The voice of the nation cannot be heard in violence, but yet people so quiet under such a disturbing silence. Free my people, let them express themselves, so we don't be free. How many years people are feeling oppressed? If we don't let risk, so we have to protest. We have to end in our destiny, so it's a right time to fight to get your unity. Free, we want to be free. We got to fight for our rights. Free, we want to be free. We got to fight for our rights. So you mean xasaway sa doomu bàjjen moo la koy wax sa doxalin bu ñaawee presse bi moo la ko war a jax ku la ne prési lépp nice lépp fine dalay nax bi boo baa ngi gën di mer xol yi di gën a bax ndax mun nga noo teg si gasa waaye munoo teg suñu kàddu xéewal nga ñu di góor waaye mujj nga ñu teg nattu révolution di wàcc si dëkk bi nit jigéen ñuy matu kenn mënta wàññi ñàkk opposant bi fi faatu ndax lan mooy njëriñu doole ci ku xamul lan mooy baale ku wax si yow ñu boole takk dee di jaay la doole askan bi dalaa ragal bul foog ne dañ laa bëgg si yow boo ragal askan bi ndaxte freedom la ñu bëgg ah. How many years people are feeling oppressed? If we don't let risk, so we have to protest. We have to end in our destiny, so it's a right time to fight to get your unity. Free, we want to be free. We got to fight for our rights. Free, we want to be free. We got to fight for our rights. We have to shake things up, so you better be buckled up, cause of this negative energy that we kept bottled up. Decades of oppression, decades of repression. Now we had enough, it's time for some action. Why leaving our future in one man's hand? No rules at all, it's like a no man's land. Many been declared missing, unsolved mysteries. The population running scared, living in misery. Stand up for our rights and let freedom reign. Let's knock this dictator out of the rain. A message of hope, this is what we pray. Democracy in the Gambia is what the cage was saying. How many years people are feeling oppressed? If we don't let risk, so we have to protest. We have to end in our destiny, so it's a right time to fight to get your unity. Free, we want to be free. Dictator who can be free. We want to be free. Rebel bitches on me. Who are the jack who take good up? Ni ko di ci politique bi ni nga leen fàtte. Liberté d'expression ni fi ñàkkee. Dirty black mail lañ la pàkkee. Diaspora bi du voté, peuple bi du boycotté. Trip or ba boor nga condamné à mort. Léegi sa game is over, te fallait tout say undercover. Pun pon dangerous man bi ci zone bi. Hey Yaya Jammeh, wax ñu loo ñu amee. Sa caabi fii la demee, te sa pion doo defi demee. Doo yàlla doo buur, doo toog fi nekk suñu buur. Buumu jaam bi dagg na, te Gambien bi toogu na. How many years people are feeling oppressed? If we don't let risk, so we have to protest. We have to end in our destiny, so it's a right time to fight it.
Yes, because for us, if Senegal is a safe country and the surrounding Senegal is not peaceful and safe, if your neighbor's house is burning and you don't do anything, tomorrow it's going to be your turn. So this is why we think that was very important for us to focus in Gambia, because Gambia, for me, coming from Kaolack, Gambia, I can go to Gambia, have lunch there, and come back to Kaolack. So that's a country in our country. And we keep on focus on Senegal too, because we launched the observing the democracy, dox ak sa gox. Because for us, that's important. Politicians do what they have to do, but that's important to the population play their role. Democracy is, you can have a lot of definition of democracy, but the most important for me is when everybody play his role, we're gonna have something better. So this is why we create observing the democracy, which means everybody is able to go ask to even his mayor how much is how much is the budget of my region, how are you gonna use it, how much is the rest of that money, what was the priority, hospital or school or stuff, and that was it's a very important campaign for us. And for that, we made this video too, to let people understand how they can do that, because hip-hop is the main vehicle for us. And you can see, he asked to the mayor. Yes, we always use hip-hop like a vehicle of our message, because it's in phase with the population. People can understand what we're talking about. The young generation can understand the message, what's the importance of what we're saying. And here is the next steps. Because after doing the protest, after having a new president, after trying to be a new type of Senegalese, we have to be a new type of African. That's important. And this is the next steps. Here is the region, ECOWAS zone. Most of this country, because of the colonization, we are divided. Because of the colonization, some of speak English, some of speak French, some of speak Portuguese. But you can see a camera in Senegal, camera in Guinea, camera in Guinea-Bissau, camera in Burkina Faso, in Benin, camera in Ivory Coast. You can see Sose or Pular in those countries. You can see a Sise or a Jawara in those countries. Even Gambians, Malians, Guineans, or some people in Mauritania, they speak Wolof. Wolof is the language we speak in Senegal. So we have a lot of things we share like in common. So this is why the focus of the next step is in that region, the ECOWAS zone. And we share the currency, le franc CFA. Franc CFA, which means Colonie Française de l'Afrique, after 60 years old of independence. So here is 100% democracy by youth. Grassroots democracy. The goals, civic education, because it's important. People have to understand what is their role. It's not civic education, not mean just flag, anthem. We used to have that in Senegal. We used to study that at school. But civic education, we have to move it because the world is moving. We have to move with the world. Civic education in this part of the 100% democracy by youth, we're going to let people understand what is their role and their importance. What is their right and what is their obligation. What they can do and what they can't do. What they should do and what they should not do in terms of participation. We're gonna, you know, that's exactly what we're gonna do in like giving a message to the population for their participation. And this is the target, the grassroots, because we're not gonna have like the same speech with the politicians or civil society classic. We're gonna bring the message to the very average people. That's what we need. Most of the time when you talk about democracy in Africa, they will, that's coming from the United States. Because the word, but if you can find the word similar or the word to translate democracy in your own language, people can say, okay, that's my thing. And that's what we're gonna do. We already do it in Wolof. This is why people can understand. This is why Senegal is important in democracy in Africa now. And where, you already see, who? With youth, artists, journalists, women's group leaders, and others. My part and the part of the team I'm working with, we are artists. What we're going to do first is having a compilation with the local languages. If, for example, one band from Guinea-Bissau going to be in that compilation, they're going to talk about rebellions, in some country like Liberia, they're going to talk about the role of women. Gambian people can talk about freedom of journalists. You know, that's going to be the end. At the end of the compilation, we're going to have like one track for all those artists. We're going to call that track New Type of African. And each of us going to say what he thinks could be the new type of African. And we're going to have a tour with those artists in those places, with conferences at the university, giving the message. And we want to have a radio station called the Voice of the Youth in ECOWAS Zone. Because Gambia, they don't have freedom to talk. What they do is, some of their journalists have 2 hours a week in Senegalese media to talk about Gambian issue. 2 hours to talk about the issue of Gambia. For us, if we have this radio in that zone, it's going to be more opportunities for Gambian people to express themselves. And the website to give the information and the platform. The activities timeline, we say earlier 2015, because make it happen, this kind of compilation need time, because recording, mix, and mastering, and preparing that. We're going to develop, this is one of the key word, the social contract. The social contract, understanding in that is, those artists from those different areas, they're going to participate in the development of this social contract. What is the first thing is, I am African. I am not Hutu or Tutsi, I am not Christian or Muslim. I am African. Bring the pride of Africa to Africans. That's going to be the first one. So, and we're going to talk about liberty of people, women, the role, and how we have to change the society, because politicians can follow us if we change. Politicians can develop if we change. But if we don't change, they can't develop anything. If we still talk about in 2014 in Africa, a war between Muslim and Christian, if we still have in Senegal or somewhere else in Africa, mutilation of women, that's unbelievable. So this is why in the social contract, we're going to talk about those issues. Keep on giving the information and the recording, the tour, and the long-term goal is going to be the radio and the website. So what we need is this, exactly, the concept, and having the budget to realize all these big projects. So thank you, everybody. This is what I wanted to share with you.
Message is very powerful, and you and your band have just done something amazing, and I think you've shown other bands in other countries what a social message can really be, so my congratulations. Let us take time for questions. If people could identify themselves and keep comments brief, we'd be happy to entertain your questions or comments. Yes, the ambassador, sir. We have a microphone.
Thank you, first of all, Dr. Blair, for inviting us here. And thank you also for Chad for the wonderful presentation. And I'm very proud today to hear his speak. First of all, I'm impressed by his English. Last time we talked, I think his other speakers weren't as good as this. And I'm really impressed. You did a very good job. And also, I would like to say that these people, Chad and Khalifa, and all this generation of rappers are true heroes in Senegal. You know, Senegal, we have a very particular situation in Senegal. Senegal has always been a very peaceful country, very democratic, and know that Senegal is the only West African country where we never had a military coup. And we have peaceful transitions, power transitions, and we were very lucky to have this kind of generation at a time when we had a head of state who lost his mind. And if it was not the fight they led, we might be in another situation. Maybe the military would intervene. But they were very brave, and they led a fight that politicians couldn't lead. They led a fight that prehistoric people couldn't lead, so they were there to defend the values of our democratic country, of our values, and they were really at the forefront of the fight for the pursuit of democracy, for the stability of the country, and they deserve our recognition, and also the recognition of the whole region, of our West African region, the African region. And I'm sure that the example they have set in Senegal can be also used in other countries throughout Africa. So once again, I would like to congratulate him, not only for the presentation, not only for the English I heard, but also for the very good job they did for Senegal. This is historic. These are heroes of Senegal. And I would like to, on behalf of my people, not only of my government, but of my people, express again our gratitude and our thanks. Thank you.
Questions? Yes? Carl? We have a microphone. Carl Gershman, president of NED.
Kat, that was, Forrest, that was tremendous. But I just want to tell you what was going through my mind watching that and maybe ask you to react to it. You know, because here you are, you're in Washington, you're at the NED, you know, we look at the world. And what you were putting there, I mean, what was unique about it was you, the hip hop, the rap, the spirit, but, you know, really it's not that unusual. Sergey is here from, he's now on the email with the Maidan. And this is happening in the freezing temperatures in Kiev today in the Maidan. And I bet he would say, what you saw here is probably very similar to the Maidan. And, you know, just last week, this fellow who was the intellectual leader of the New Citizens Movement in China, Zhu Jiang, was sentenced, and he headed something called New Citizens Movement. And they don't have the rap, they don't have the hip hop, probably could use a little bit of that, but it's probably the same thing. And there's, you know, a campaign for another Cuba, there are people like Mikonaing in Burma. There's this common man, new political party in India. It's global. And, you know, you're talking about wanting to be involved in Gambia because it's next door and, you know, you have a responsibility. And as you said, if you don't take care of Gambia, it's going to hurt you. But, you know, I can extend that. I mean, what's the biggest country investing in China, in Africa today is China. And I think you have a stake as Africans in the New Citizens Movement in China. So the question is, and I want to, you know, just starting this now, but to think about how to connect the dots, how to, you know, connect the movements, how to, because you have something to offer them. I mean, the spirit is something, but I think, you know, you need to be connected with them and you need to help them, and what they're doing can help you. So maybe you could just think, you know, react to that, but also it's something, before you go, obviously, I hope we can talk about it further.
I mean, thank you, Mr. Ambassador. That was an honor for me, having you here this afternoon. Carl, what you say is very important. I think these last 2 years, we saw in the world population taking a new consciousness and thinking about more what they can do to change their country than they used to do. If I take the example of Senegal, for example, we used to have 4 different kinds of youth. The one who follow just what their parents say. The one who follow the Marabout. Marabout is the guide, the religion guide. The one who follow the political part, and the one who say, I don't care. But now, in the middle of those who are saying, I don't care, come up the rappers, and they are involved now. And they join, and they do and play their role. The role of 100% democracy by youth is exactly what you're just talking about. How to connect the rest, how to be in touch with the rest. And I think NED can offer that, can make the connection with those organizations in the world. I know Sergey, and If I don't keep in touch with Sergey tomorrow, that will be my fault. I know Chad from Zimbabwe, Lukudu from South Sudan. Anita just left, she's from Serbia. So for me, that's exactly what the fellowship, but that's the result of the fellowship. If we all go back to our countries and do not be in touch, do not change something in the world, our fellowship was for anything. I mean, coming here, having an experience, and do not go back to share it with the population in Senegal, that will be very, for me, it's not going to make sense for me. And what I used to learn here is, I know more about Ukraine, I know more about Zimbabwe. And I feel free now to talk about Ukraine or Zimbabwe because I know more because of one guy I met. So what is the important now is how to make that connection happen. It's up to us. You're not going to do it. It's up to us. I always say to Lukudu and Charles, they are African like me, what we can do to change our countries. Let's be in touch, let's make the connection happen, and let's talk about the national issue, what people need, what people want. So for me, I am concerned about Mugabe. He's a dictator. I'm concerned about Dos Santos. I'm concerned about Yaya Jammeh. He's the most dangerous dictator, and the most dangerous in that zone. He's in the head of the rebellions, even in Senegal, in Casamance. For me, if I was the president, Macky Sall, I will say, Yaya Jammeh, get out of here, because that guy is one of the most dangerous people in that region. Guinea-Bissau, they have every couple of months a new president. Guinea-Conakry, they kill each other, Pular or Sose or their stupidity. But people who are aware, people who understand, they can make things change. And that's exactly what we're doing here. That's what it's supposed to be in a few months coming. Yeah.
Chad, you've given a beautiful statement about the impact that the fellowship can have, and I'm so glad to hear you say this and to mention your fellows here. The NED also is part of something called the World Movement for Democracy, which our fellows also become a part of, which is a network of networks around the world. I don't know, Carl, if you wanted to say a word about the World Movement, but it seems as though we do have some ways in which you could connect, and I know that we would want to stay in touch with you and to involve you and hip-hop and music and the power of music in this kind of work. So.
And hip-hop, you can be the vehicle of all of that. Because hip-hop, you can go in Senegal. Most of the people, they don't speak English, but they all know about hip-hop. And hip-hop, majority of hip-hop is in English. Even in Saudi Arabia, you can find a rapper there. So hip-hop is very international. And what hip-hop can do, I mean, for me, as a member of hip-hop, I know what is the importance of hip-hop in the world, because I travel a lot, and I see everywhere rappers. And as a rapper, we have a way to dress, a way to act, a way to think. I have a mission also inside of the hip-hop, because hip-hop in Africa is not the same here in the US. I'm not focused on rappers who show naked lady or talking about nonsense. That's not the kind of hip-hop we're looking for. We're looking for the conscious hip-hop, the important hip-hop who deliver a message. And it's a message for me to the hip-hop here in the US, to if they can participate more in the development of their country, that would be great. But knowing hip-hop it could be like the main thing we share everywhere. I can have a featuring with American and Indian and everyone, each of us gonna talk about our own issue in our own languages, which is still gonna be hip-hop and people can hear it. So that's important too.
Thank you. Question in the back.
Hi. Okay. My name is Awa and I'm from Senegal, and I work at the radio station for Senegal. And we had Chad and Khalifa as guests, and that was a wonderful presentation, and I'm very proud to be Senegalese right now. And that's the type of message we are given. Awareness. That's what we need in Senegal. We need awareness because people need to know their role in the country. We don't let politicians do what they want to do. We need to fight. And my question is, we here, we don't have the chance to go all the time. So I want to know, how can we participate in the fight to aware people?
I mean, that's a very important question you just said. For me, it's not just first about where you are. It's about knowing who you are and what you want to do and what you can do. For example, I'm sure here you study something in the US. And what you just study, you can share it with the population in Senegal. Of course, it's possible. But in Yanamar organization, we have what we call spirit of Yanamar. Spirit means the representing of Yanamar in separate, in different areas. We have a spirit of Yanamar here in US, based in New York. But you can join the spirit. How? Just you want to be member of Yanamar. We don't have car, we don't have to buy a t-shirt to be members of Yanamar. It's just because you want to stand something, you're a member of Yanamar. What you can do is, in terms of the observing the democracy in Senegal, you can have your own blog. You can make a list of people who coming from your own region. For example, you're coming from Kaolack in Senegal. You can make like how many people in your area here in US coming from Kaolack, and having a cotisation like money, $20 every month or every week. And that money, you can go to Kaolack and look in the website of the observing the democracy called Site du monitoring website. You're going to see what is the priority of Kaolack. If it's a school or a hospital, send that money or buy some stuff for that school or that hospital, or build even like one step of that hospital. It could be your part of that what you want to build. But because you can do more, but that will be the first step for me, participate in what we do in our country. And as a Senegalese, your responsibility being here in US is to show the real and the nice face of Senegal. You are an ambassador too, in terms of behavior, in terms of how you're going to be inside of another country, in terms of respecting their laws and rules, and show a good face of Senegal. People will respect Senegal more. So that will be the first step.
Yes, please. We have a microphone.
Thank you. Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Chad. My name is Roger. I'm a journalist at Voice of America. And I have a daily show that goes all over Africa, and specifically to Francophone. I speak to a lot of young people, of course, who are involved with hip-hop and all that kind of stuff. And as you know, Chad, in my country, the Congo, there's a lot of rape. You know, women are being raped every day. It's still a very big problem in the eastern part of the Congo. And there's a lot of young people, kind of like who are starting movement like what you're talking about, hip-hop, and try to sing against those things, but they can't make it like you guys did, you know. And that's why, you know, I have to kind of give respect to Senegal, because there's some kind of respect in people's choice and people's voice, because these kids, they're being killed or arrested. You don't get to hear the track, so some of them will send me those tracks at VOA, and I'll play them, because that's who we are. And we'll give them voice, you know, for them to speak up what's going on. So my question to you, because you mentioned that you now that you did that in Senegal, you're going out of Senegal, which is great. Now, don't you feel the responsibility, instead of staying in the ECO, go in the Central Africa? Thank you. Yeah, maybe China.
I mean, that's an important question, and I'm glad to know there is some rapper in Congo. But you know, I don't have the pretension to say I'm going to do everything. I can't. I'm not a politician who promises a lot of promises. and I know I can't do everything. I can't. And 100% democracy by youth is not going to be me. Because what I usually say, if you look at yourself like a star, you're going to fail your mission. Because a star, people are going to copy how he wears, how he acts, the way he talks. But if you want to be a role model, people want to see how you act and how you think. That's the first step. We need an example. You know, today we can say Yanamar is an example, like you said. But if we have another example and say the ECOWAS zone is an example in the continent, the West side can say, okay, let's follow the example of the West. The East and the North can say the same thing. We just want to like spread what we have in Senegal in that zone regionally first. And if we have an example in that region, we can show the example of the region in the rest of the continent. Because we know in that region we share a lot. Culture, languages, and stuff. If in the middle of Africa you have that, you can even let me be in touch with those people, with those rappers. The way we're doing this, we can share with them, and they can be involved. They can have the information on the right time. It could be the first step. But let's focus on the ECOWAS zone. Let's have a result, a good result, and show it like a model in the rest of the continent. And for me, that's my opinion, my point of view.
Thank you. Yes, right here.
Salam alaikum. I'm Alyssa Rickard. I'm with Freedom House. I lived in Senegal for a year, and I lived in Kalak. So nice to meet you. I'm a huge fan. I was wondering if you've made any efforts to involve and/or target religious leaders in Senegal, because I know a lot of government leaders. There's the government, and they have a lot of power, but religious leaders do have power, and they can be a force of good, but they can also be a force of bad. So I was wondering if you had prevented that. Thank you.
The religious leaders, you say?
The mirabous or imams?
Yes. I'm going to tell you one story. When we were fighting and when we were saying to what, do not touch our constitution, some Marabu leaders of religion leaders, they say, what is this movement? They are impolite. Young people bring this word, Yanamar, French word, and call them here. And they were saying, whether they are a kind of toy of some organization coming from US or some Illuminati, give them the message and stuff. What we did is we went to see those Marabu in the underground. When we arrived to Touba, is one of the biggest and the most famous and the most important in Senegal. The Marabu said, what is constitution? Why you want to burn the country for something constitution? Let constitution with what? And go do what you have to do. You are a Senegalese young. When an older man says something, you have to respect. We say to him, constitution. We say, imagine you are a Muslim. What is your most important book? He say, the Quran. He say, I'm Christian. What is my most important book? He say, the Bible. Jew, the Torah. We say, if Jews, Muslim and Christian want to live in the same country, they have another book. And that book gives to all of them the right and protect all of them as a nation. That book called Constitution. And I say to him, are you going to accept tomorrow a guy wake up and add a new article in the Quran? He said, I'm going to kill him. He said, this is why we don't want to accept what a new agreement in our constitution. He said, go for it. I mean, for me, it's about how to deliver a message. If the message have to be, people have to understand what you're talking about. For example, when you talk about democracy, we say, Chilabok. Chilabok is mean, I'm part of it. If you are part of it, you're not going to let somebody else do it. For example, national income. There is some word politicians can use to abuse the population or to serve on the ignorance of the population. But if you understand, like what we did during the protest and say to people, national income just means cotization. I give my taxes, I pay my taxes is 100, 2 cents, 3 cents, and that money serves to the government to bring me my rights on the street, to build roads, to pay ministers. If I don't pay my taxes, I can't complain against, I can't say, give me light or give me road. If you pay your taxes, you're gonna have right, you're gonna have road, you're gonna have light. But you have also the right to ask them, where is that money if you don't have? So pay first your taxes, and after you can ask about your life, your roads, and if you don't see it, you can protest out the street. So people, the average people, need a kind of message. You can't talk about democracy in a village, and using a word of democracy, civil society, human rights. People are not going to catch anything because the most problem of Africa is education. We have a problem of education. If people are educated, they can be aware. If they are aware, they can be involved. If they are involved, they will play their role, and that's exactly what means democracy for me. So it's about the message. So Marre, we don't have any problem with them unless they want to face to us to say, you can't do this. If you are on our right, we give them a lot of respect. A lot of respect. Nobody can deny that. But in terms of democracy or human rights or civil society, that's the most important than ourselves. You understand?
Super congratulations.
Gracias.
Eh,
Obrigado.
We'll have
Obrigado.
translation to from Brazilian.
Os poderes ainda, os espaços de poderes ainda são muito masculinos. Desde dentro do movimento hip hop, como é que o movimento pode trabalhar a questão de gênero nesta promoção para a promoção da democracia?
And now a translation from Renato Franchi.
She's saying that the powers in place are still very male or dominated, and so how can the hip hop movement and the arts bring the gender question to bear upon society, the structures of power, institutions?
I'm going to start on saying I'm a man, but I'm feminist too. For me, gender is about a state of mind. I can see a woman like I am up on the top or she's behind me. It's about the mentality. It's about the society. Coming from Senegal, we know how women are really involved. I'm going to let you know Senegal. Senegal is a very important country in Africa in terms of democracy. We have a lot to share with the world, with Africa, even the world. We have 48% of our National Assembly seats, they are women. 48% of the National Assembly, they are women. We have Prime Minister, she's a woman. The chairwoman of the police, she's a woman. We have a lot of women taking a lot of high responsibility. Even in France or in US, the National Assembly in US is not 45% of women. That's important. And let's say 52% of them, they are under 50 years old. Under 50 years old. So having a country like that, for me, that question is not too big. But that question can be big in somewhere else women don't have place or a role to play. What I'm going to say to those people is, whatever you can talk about or whatever you can do, if there is no woman, it's not going to happen. Because woman is, for me, the beginning of everything, even the beginning of birth. So it's important, the role of woman. It depends now how women can be involved or how they can't be involved. What kind of issue you have to figure out to let women involved. If we talk about protest out the street and fight against the police, you can send women to do that. This is why sometimes in kind of organization you see women behind. But I'm going to tell you, in Yanamar, there was a woman who think everything, who set up everything. Her name is Sophia. The world know Yanamar today because of Sophia. And she don't want to be in the front. Because most of the time, women, they have that kind of attitude. They want to protect behind. They want to say, they want to be like the berger. I don't know how to say the berger. Le troupeau, le berger.
Taking care.
Like if
The
you have
caretaker.
the shepherd.
Shepherd.
They say, okay, cows go. And she's behind them. No. That's what it is most of the time.
Thank you, Chad. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Thanks for the great presentation. My name is Brooks Marre, and I'm with Higher Education for Development. I guess I wanted to sound just a less optimistic note, because it seems like when a lot of people think of hip-hop, that there's this inherent appeal to youth. But like you said, you're interested in the conscious music. And from my experience within West Africa, people are really listening to performers like P Square, the Banj, and they're not talking about those sort of issues. So what can really be done to direct the messaging to get conscious issues more into the mainstream? And I'd also be interested in hearing about some of the musical influences on you.
Yes, that's an important question. I think even here in US, we can find some mainstream, we can find some conscious, like Mosdef, Common Sense, Talib Kweli. They talk about important issues here in US, but they're not every day all over on the news. You're gonna see Jay-Z talk about nonsense because that's what people want after work. During the weekend, you go to have fun. But in Africa, the role of P Square or those bands could be that, to be like a relay of this fight. But we're not going to focus on P Square. Even P Square have to be they have to know the message. P Square is part of the average people I'm talking about, for me. But in those countries, in Nigeria, I am sure there is one rapper, or one journalist, or one just a leader in his neighborhood who's trying to change something. My relay could be that guy. We know Tiken Jaffa Koli. He's more famous than P Square, and he's not talking about nonsense. His lyric is very constant. We know Kanan. He's from Africa too. He talk about some issue people can understand and people can talk about it. So for me, it depends to the kind of population you need to give the message. If you want to go to the club and talk about social issue and stuff, maybe it's not going to work. But if you go to the university, maybe it's going to work. So you have your message and you have to find out and figure out where you're going to go to deliver the message and what's going to be the vehicle of your message. So if you fail in that way, this is why most of the time misunderstanding happens. Because you want to talk about religion, it's not going to be in the club. You know, it depends to the target, it depends to who. But I'm sure the way P Square is famous in the world because, you know, majors and labels, they want something entertaining. They want something show, you know, that part of Africa. But there is another band, I'm sure, in Nigeria or in Ghana, more involved in terms of participating in the development of their own country. And those guys have respect. It's like here in the US. Jay-Z is the most popular, but Nas is the one who got more respect.
That's true.
So you can see the balance.
Yes, sir, right in front here.
My name is Chidi Mebi. I'm from the Washington Center, also from Nigeria. My question is mostly for Ms. Salifeh here. Since the NED is funded by the US Congress, will the issues discussed today about Senegal be included in the endowments projects for the coming year and be transmitted to Congress in the process?
Oh, well, this is a question for the Africa program, the grant-making program here. I run the Fellows program. Let us say that I think that we would find our ears are open and our minds are very open to supporting this kind of work. Art, reaching out to promote democracy and send messages to youth, messages of tolerance, human rights, civic education. And personally, as you can see from our bringing Chat here as a fellow, we certainly support this 100%. So, thank you for the question. Any others? Well, if there are no further questions, I want to end on this note, which is to say, Chat, you have a baby in